Today, I am going to give you an easy way to figure out how much house you can afford on your salary and in relation to how much your bills are. I'm Lynda Hafner, top producing realtor at ERA Key Realty in Central Massachusetts. The two most important factors you need to look at when you're considering buying a house and figuring out how much you can afford is one, how much dependable income you have. Any bonuses over time does not count in the bank's eyes unless it is steady for a period of 2 years. So please keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out your income. Everything you're going to be learning today is basically what you need to do to satisfy the bank's requirements, because if you're borrowing money from the bank or a mortgage lender, you need to follow their rules. Second most important factor that a bank's going to look at is your debt to income ratio. The debt to income ratio is something when you're buying a house, you really need to understand this concept, and it can be a little bit complicated, but I'm going to break it down for you. Banks use the debt to income ratio to figure out how much of a risk it is for them to loan you money. They assume that the more debt you have, the less likely you are going to be to pay back the money they give you, so they look at you as a bigger risk. The banks want your new mortgage payment, including taxes, insurance, PMI, everything all together, plus the amount of debt payments you have per month to equal no more than 38% of your gross monthly income. The bank is going to use your gross monthly income before taxes. In order to figure out your gross monthly pay, you have to start with your gross yearly pay. Just to make it easy, I picked a number of $100,000. You plug in whatever your yearly gross income is, and then you divide it by 12. That will give you your gross monthly income. 100,000 divided by 12 comes to 8,333. That's the number the bank is going to use. All of these numbers are approximations. Everyone's financial condition, situation is going to vary, and your numbers are not going to look exactly like this. Why? Because your credit rating affects how much a lender will give you. Lender throws all of these numbers into an automated underwriting system. They use your credit score. They use a lot of other factors, where the location of the house is. So please talk to your lender for a more accurate number. In an ideal world, if you have absolutely no credit card debt and no car payments, no student loans, the bank would use the number 0.33% of your gross monthly income, which would be $8,333 if you made $100,000. You multiply that and you come out with $2,749 is what you would be allowed as a monthly payment for just your home if there's no debt. I had to fool around with the mortgage calculators quite a bit to figure out that you take this number of $2,749 and the number, depending on the interest rate. See, that's the big thing. What interest rate are you going to get? Right now, I used 6.75. As of right now, the making of this video, the actual interest rate is a little higher than that at 7.1 if you go with a traditional mortgage lender. But if you go with a local bank, I know my buyers right now are actually still able to get 5.2, 5.5 if they use an adjustable rate. So there's a lot of fluctuation based on interest rate as to not only what your payment's going to be, but also how much house you can afford. This is just to give you the formula, to give you a head start in figuring it out before you talk to the lender. Using $100,000 as your income with zero debt, you are able to afford a house in the range of $435,000-ish at an interest rate of 6.75. You could afford more if you got a lower interest rate, and you can afford less if you have debt. Let's go into some pretend scenarios of what your debt would look like. In my scenario, I have a total monthly debt of $435. That's accounting for $350 for a car loan and 2 credit card debts. The bank only cares about the minimum amount due on each credit card, which is actually kind of helpful. And also another reason why you shouldn't work so hard to pay off the credit card debt. It would be better to get rid of the car payment because that is a bigger payment. So if you have a choice of getting rid of the credit card debt or the car payment, definitely go for the car payment, because if you could wipe out that $350 payment, you could add that much to what you could afford for a house. Banks do not want to give you a conventional loan unless they see that all of your debt, including your future house payment and whatever previous debt you have, does not total more than 38% of your gross monthly income. If it totals more than that, there are still other options, because there are other loan programs, especially FHA. They sometimes can go up to 50%. So you may want to consider an FHA loan instead of a conventional loan. Now that we're out of that insane, crazy seller's market, FHA is coming back into play right now. In this scenario, this debt comes over the 38% guideline. It actually, when you do the math, it's 43%. So that means on that salary of $100,000, it's not going to work with a conventional loan. You're going to have to explore other options, or you're going to be able to afford less than a $435,000 house. In order to still qualify for the $435,000 house, your debt no more than $417 per month. So this gives you a good general guideline, but really you do need to give all your unique financial situation paperwork to a lender, a bank, or a mortgage provider, and have them figure out your numbers for you. And talk to more than one right now. As of October of 2022, local banks are going to have a better rate. So please check around, do your homework, ask for different programs, look into first-time home buyer programs, see what incentives they have. Check the description for handy links to mortgage calculators that you can play around with. If you pay off this bill, how much can you afford? If you change the interest rate, how much can you afford? It's actually kind of fun. I would highly suggest it. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment below. Connect with me on Instagram and TikTok. I'd love to hear from you. Have a great day.